Cybersecurity has a big impact on companies today and on their leaders. We've seen companies, large companies, being seriously embarrassed by cybersecurity breaches. And one of the things I think we find is a lot of cybersecurity breaches come down to people issues. What HR leaders, what leaders generally can do to reduce cybersecurity risk is to make sure that they understand their people, that their people are engaged with the company, that their people are happy at work. People who are committed to the company do not get involved in the kind of laxness or, at worst, absolute sabotage which leads to cybersecurity risks.
There's a great deal that business leaders can do to reduce the risk, but of course the risk will never ultimately go away. It's always there. So all we can do is prepare and plan. And a lot of that comes down to training. This is a really fundamental part of what business leaders need to do. And it's certainly what's expected of us from our clients and our regulators.
We always talk about business facing unprecedented change, but I think one of the things which is really different now is the geopolitical landscape. Today's generation of leaders have been in a very stable environment. Since the fall of the Berlin Wall, since the end of the Cold War, there's been a general opening up of economies, whether in China or in India, worldwide, lowering of trade barriers. We're seeing a sharp reversal of that. Business leaders have had to become far more geopolitically aware than they ever were in the past. You'd have to go back a very, very long way to find as uncertain a geopolitical environment as we have now. Our companies have become used to really recruiting from a global workforce. They're going to have to look more closely at their own national structures, their own national education systems, and possibly think about how they recruit locally far more than they did in the past.
We're seeing a shift in goals, moving from just developing knowledge and skills within the organization to changing mindsets, preparing the leaders in the organization to handle and tackle the speed of innovation we see today.
Nowadays, leaders and executives are under a lot of stress. On the one hand, they have to cope with the environment and they have to transform either their companies or their business units. And on the other hand, they are asked to deliver results and to deliver growth in a sustainable way.
A lot of leaders have been internally focused. They've been focused on their own companies or their own industries or their own sectors. I think generally people have got to have a far broader vision than they've ever had in the past. And that's something that's got to be developed all the way through the organization.
The one thing that will make learning programs add real value and drive impact is by partnering with the senior leaders in designing the programs and tying them to the strategic objectives of the business.
So the one thing that's absolutely necessary for a leadership program to work and to add value to the company is to have the CEO involved. She or he has to be part of it, has to be present. HR can help, but when the CEO comes, miraculously, everybody else starts coming as well.
As far as HR professionals and learning and development professionals go, I think the challenge for them and the future for them is not to be a separate organization, not to be a separate department. These things have got to be absolutely embedded, have got to be woven into the organization.
My advice to the HR and L&D communities is make a robust business case that you can talk to your C-suite representative, and also, I would say, co-design the program with their input. That way you will get a much more accepting C-suite, and therefore the program will work.
The C-suite is realizing that in order to stay competitive and stay relevant, they need to develop and invest into leadership skills across the organization.
Leadership training is definitely climbing higher up the agenda. And we use the word priority. It's more than a priority. It's like saying breathing is a priority. Well, it's more than a priority. It's a need. If we don't have it, we die.
We are seeing business education climbing right up our agenda. We've just gone through a major restructuring And now with the leadership in place, we want to then bring them up to the same baseline of education to actually make sure that they can be the best they can be as leaders.
We're focusing much more on trying to be a little bit different, a bit more innovative, on trying to hone in on skills that allow you to adapt to the changing environment rather than focusing on facts and figures.
First of all, we used to only have executive education for the top management. Now we have it for everybody. To make programs more relevant, engaging, and timely, we ask our providers, our business schools that we work with, to remember that, first of all, a very simple message, the client is more important than their faculty, without actually quite simply listening to what sort of thing do we need. They tend to sell what they make rather than make what they sell.
It's very important to create learning experiences that are social, that are collaborative, and adapted to a real-world context.
I want to be creative in the way that we deliver our courses, as we want to be innovative, but more importantly, I want to be provocative.
Leveraging digital technologies and creating a blended learning approach, which is flexible to the needs of the organization, is critical in delivering a relevant learning experience.